Well, the good news about this presidential campaign is that soon it will be over.
Of course.
And the bad news is that one of those people will be elected.
You won't believe what's been blowing up on social media. Rumor has it that James Woods, Mel Gibson, and Mark Wahlberg have teamed up to take down Hollywood's woke agenda. People are going crazy over the idea of these three powerhouses joining forces to create an anti-woke film studio. Before we get into this video, why don't you take a second to subscribe to our channel and like this video? With Hollywood constantly pushing progressive narratives, it's no wonder this story has everyone talking. But here's the kicker. Could this be the start of a real rebellion against woke culture, or is it just a viral joke? Which brings us to Mel Gibson, a name we've all heard associated with controversy. Gibson's career has been a roller coaster of success and scandal. He was once one of Hollywood's biggest stars, but we all know his fall from grace after his explosive remarks and personal issues. Still, Gibson isn't one to sit back and let the industry decide his fate. He's been making a comeback, but on his own terms. The idea of him starting an anti-woke studio makes total sense, considering his views on modern Hollywood. He's been vocal about how the industry has shifted, embracing a progressive agenda that he's clearly not on board with. The man behind films like Braveheart and The Passion of the Christ has always had a rebellious streak. So the thought of him leading a charge against what he calls the censorship of woke culture fits perfectly into his persona. This whole studio concept might be satirical, but honestly, it's exactly the kind of bold move you'd expect from Mel Gibson. Then there's James Woods, the man who's never shied away from speaking his mind. If you've followed his career, you know he's been a polarizing figure in Hollywood for years. Woods is outspokenly conservative in an industry dominated by liberal voices, and that hasn't gone unnoticed. He's had public confrontations with many in Hollywood, pushing back against what he sees as an overly politically correct and woke environment. Because of this, he's been quietly pushed out of the spotlight, with fewer mainstream roles coming his way. The rumor that Woods is ditching Hollywood to join forces with Mel Gibson in an anti-woke production studio doesn't seem too far-fetched when you think about how out of place he's probably felt in that scene. Woods is smart and sharp, and he's always been ready to challenge the groupthink in Hollywood. So seeing him make a move like this makes sense, even if it's all satire. Then we have Mark Wahlberg, who might seem like the quieter one of the trio when it comes to politics, but don't let that fool you. Wahlberg has always had a more low-key conservative stance, often focusing on his faith and family values, which already sets him apart from a lot of his Hollywood peers. He's been vocal about his Catholic faith and how it shapes his life, something that doesn't always sit well with the woke crowd in Tinseltown. While he's never been as openly confrontational as Woods or as controversial as Gibson, Wahlberg's values align with the idea of pushing back against Hollywood's increasing push for woke messaging. In this rumored alliance, Wahlberg brings a kind of everyman relatability. He's a successful guy who hasn't needed to jump on the woke bandwagon to stay relevant, and that probably makes him even more appealing to people who are tired of seeing politics invade every aspect of entertainment. So, here's where it all gets interesting. The whole idea of James Woods, Mel Gibson, and Mark Wahlberg teaming up for an anti-woke film studio didn't come out of nowhere. Well, actually, it kinda did. This rumor started on a Facebook page called SpaceX Fan Club, and believe it or not, it was satire from the get-go. They posted a meme that claimed James Woods had left Hollywood to join Mel Gibson's so-called anti-woke production studio. The post linked to a website called SPOTS, which is known for its satirical content, but some people missed that tiny detail. The site clearly states in its disclaimer that nothing on there is real. The moment this satirical post went live, people started sharing it like it was the truth. When you've got Woods and Gibson, two guys who have been pretty vocal about their anti-woke views, people are more than ready to believe they'd join forces to take down woke culture. It's like satire didn't even stand a chance against the confirmation bias that kicked in. This rumor perfectly aligned with what so many people want to see happen in Hollywood. So, even though it was all meant to be a joke, it became one of those cases where satire gets mistaken for reality because it fits so perfectly with the narrative people want to believe. The meme went viral, and before you knew it, everyone was talking about Woods and Gibson ditching Hollywood for their anti-woke crusade. This rumor didn't just blow up because it's entertaining. It also taps into a very real cultural divide in Hollywood right now. You've probably noticed how the entertainment industry has been at the center of this woke versus anti-woke battle. On the other side, there's a growing frustration from people like James Woods and Mel Gibson, who feel like traditional values and creative freedom are being smothered by this push for wokeness. And it's not just about movies anymore. It feels like every show, award ceremony, and even interviews are dripping with political messaging. For a lot of people, it's exhausting. The woke culture in Hollywood has become so pervasive that anyone who speaks out against it is either labeled as out of touch or, worse, canceled. But here's the thing. People like Woods and Gibson have never been afraid to push back, and that's why this fictional anti-woke studio feels so believable. They represent that faction of Hollywood that's tired of walking on eggshells and playing the woke game. This cultural war is very real, and even though this rumor is satirical, it highlights just how deep this divide runs. It's not just actors or filmmakers feeling the pressure, it's audiences too, who are sick of being preached to in what's supposed to be entertainment. Even though this whole story about an anti-woke studio is fake, the conversations it sparks are very real. When people started believing that Woods, Gibson, and Wahlberg were teaming up, it reignited the debate about whether Hollywood's obsession with woke culture has gone too far. The rumor stirred up strong emotions on both sides. Those who are fed up with the woke agenda cheered the idea on, excited at the prospect of a studio that would produce films without the constant virtue signaling. On the flip side, those who support progressive causes were outraged, calling it another example of how Hollywood's old guard is resisting change. But here's what's crazy. Rumors like this, even if they're not true, have the power to shape public opinion. They feed into existing frustrations and amplify them. Suddenly, it's not just about a fake studio, it's about what it represents. People see this as a battle for the soul of Hollywood, and even satire becomes part of the fight. It's wild how something that started as a joke can end up having real-world consequences, stirring up debates, and making people choose sides. It just shows you how deeply this cultural war is rooted in our conversations about entertainment, politics, and society at large. The moment this rumor hit social media, it blew up like crazy. People were going wild over the idea of James Woods, Mel Gibson, and Mark Wahlberg joining forces against woke Hollywood. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram were flooded with reactions, thousands of likes, shares, and comments. The post from SpaceX fan club that started it all had racked up more than 230,000 reactions and over 10,000 comments in no time. It's clear that this idea of an anti-woke studio resonated with a lot of people, especially those who are fed up with the constant preaching from Hollywood elites. You had people cheering the trio on, practically begging for this studio to be real. Comments like, "Finally." Some films that won't shove woke nonsense down our throats were everywhere. Many were excited about the idea of watching movies that focused on good storytelling instead of pushing an agenda. It's clear that a lot of people feel that modern entertainment has lost its way, becoming more about virtue signaling than actual entertainment. For them, Woods, Gibson, and Wahlberg represented a breath of fresh air. Guys who wouldn't be afraid to break away from the woke Hollywood crowd and bring back traditional, politically incorrect movies. But, of course, it wasn't all applause. There was another side of the debate too. Plenty of people were quick to criticize what they saw as a blatant attack on inclusivity. These folks argued that Hollywood's push for diversity and inclusion is necessary, and that an anti-woke studio would be a step backward. Some even called Woods and Gibson relics of an outdated era, claiming that their alleged studio was just a way to revive old, tired narratives that Hollywood has rightly left behind. The back and forth in the comment sections was fierce, with both sides digging in and defending their positions. It was the perfect storm of social media drama, and it only fueled more debate about whether Hollywood's woke agenda has gone too far or not far enough. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.